his intentions were clear. He wanted to do harm, and it wasn't going to happen with me.
A gunman on a major GTA highway. A driver shares a terrifying tale.
Tonight, shots fired on the 401. Dashcam video captures a frightening scene. Good evening. Imagine driving on your morning commute and coming across a suspect armed with a gun.
It happened in Mississauga. More than 10 vehicles were struck, and tonight police have issued an arrest warrant for a suspect. CTV's Raheem Ladani joins us live with the details. Raheem.
Michelle and Nathan, good evening. Police have now identified the suspected shooter as a 29-year-old man from Toronto. They say he is considered armed and dangerous after motorists were terrorized on Highway 401. This is dashcam video recorded at 5:30 Tuesday morning from a car traveling southbound on the 410 onto the 401 East. In the video, you can see a man dart across 4 lanes of traffic.
And you think nothing of it until you see a gun pointing at you.
Mike was behind the wheel driving to work. He says he saw the man walk back onto the highway and point a gun at him.
It's fight or flight mode. And my first decision was duck down, put it into third gear, and get the hell out of there.
In a different dashcam video, you can clearly see the man walking towards another vehicle and point what appears to be a gun at the frightened occupants.
Hey, no.
OPP say there have been 10 reports of vehicles being shot at. Police are still searching for the suspect, who they have now identified as 29-year-old Troy LeDrew of Toronto. It's alleged LeDrew stole a vehicle from a motorist in the area and drove away. Police later found it abandoned on Faskin Drive in Etobicoke, which is where he was last seen.
It was a wake-up call. You take things for granted. You hear in the news, it's like, it's not going to happen to me. And, I thank God I wasn't seriously impacted with it, and I hope nobody was hurt.
Police say no one suffered serious injuries from the incident. Police are advising the public that if they see Troy LeDrew, do not approach him as he is considered armed and dangerous. Instead, contact police or Crime Stoppers. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. Police have identified the baby who died after being found at a building in Midtown last week. His mother charged with murder. 4-month-old Azuri Bacchus was found by officers at the scene last Wednesday around 11:30 a.m. Police were called to the building by the child's father, who had reported the baby missing. The child's mother, 30-year-old Caressa Edwards, has been charged with second-degree murder in connection with the incident.
Also tonight, a big development in a rash of violent sex assaults. Peel police arrest a man alleged to have been posing as a rideshare driver and targeting women.
But first, we're live at Queen's Park tonight, where Premier Doug Ford is currently taking part in an emergency meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The topic, a looming threat from south of the border. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is vowing to impose a 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico.
The impact, according to politicians and business leaders alike, would be huge. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live with all the details. Siobhan.
Well, this meeting between all of Canada's premiers and the Prime Minister started around 5 o'clock. At this moment, as far as we know, that meeting is ongoing. The Premier says it's clear that there needs to be a strategy to deal with issues at the border.
Hello, everyone.
Before the First Minister's meeting, Premier Doug Ford stressed that Donald Trump's threat of tariffs if drugs and illegal migrants continue to pass over our shared border must be taken seriously.
We need to tighten up the border on both sides. And the federal government needs to have a plan. We don't need a plan a month down the road. We need a plan now.
Ford said he'd just finished his own call with the OPP, the Canadian Border Services Agency, and the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency.
The federal government needs to put more resources into the RCMP, more resources into CBSA.
For example, the Premier says Ontario graduates about 2,000 police officers a year.
The entire country, the RCMP, only have the funding for 1,200. That system is broken.
CTV political analyst Scott Reed has called the focus on the border a Trump trap.
So when he says that we're a gateway for fentanyl and massive illegal immigration, that's not true. Let's not validate his invalid criticisms of us.
Stats show the number of drugs and migrants slipping into the U.S. are overwhelmingly going through the southern border. In a deeply interconnected auto sector, Trump's threat has sparked fear.
We are deeply concerned about the negative impacts that this would have on our industry.
The head of a union local representing auto workers says the industry can't tolerate higher costs and smaller margins.
These tariffs would directly eat into those margins and make us less attractive as a place to assemble vehicles.
In Ontario, more than 130,000 people work in auto and parts manufacturing.
They go home and hug their kids at the end of a hard day, just like the workers do south of the border. So I think that President-elect Trump will recognize their longest relationship, their closest ally in Canada.
It's why Reid says the Prime Minister has to find a way to bring premiers together.
You don't want the Premier of Alberta saying, all right, give us exemptions for energy and leave agriculture and auto to fend for itself. Let's have an across-the-board Canada approach to this.
Something he admits is easier said than done.
The Premier acknowledged this is something of a two-way problem between Canada and the U.S., talking about the guns and illegal drugs that have been coming to this country. And he again says there needs to be improvements on both sides of that international border. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Also from Queen's Park tonight, the province is getting on board with Ottawa's plans for a temporary tax break. The federal Liberals have pledged to remove the GST on restaurant meals and a range of consumer goods starting mid-December. The Ford government says it will match the plan and remove the provincial sales tax on items not currently covered by existing rebates for the same period. Both governments are also planning to send out rebate checks billed as affordability measures.
Time for a first look at the forecast as we take a live look outside at the evening skyline. It's been a noticeably chillier day, and we are anticipating the potential for snow overnight, along with a wind chill. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Feels like the first time we've said wind chill in a while and snow.
You know, it's been a minute. The bulk of the flurry activity will stay a little further west. Kind of the west end of the GTA may see some of it. The downtown core likely to stay dry along with the bulk of the GTA, but we are looking at lake effect snow, and that lake effect snow machine fires up really into the day tomorrow, right through to the end of the weekend. So we are in the realm that is going to see a little bit of flurry activity. Temperature-wise right now, it is still pretty cool out there. We're kind of getting into that freezing mark right around the Golden Horseshoe. Through the islands to Pearson, about 2 to 3 degrees tonight. The very light flurries likely to come kind of between midnight and the early morning hours tomorrow, but again in the west end of the GTA. But the snow is coming to the downtown core. I'll have those details in a moment. But right now, let's check in with Andrea Case. She's on location today for the 29th annual Toy Mountain campaign. Where are you tonight, Andrea?
Jessica, I'm just down the highway from you. I am at IKEA in North York. I'm here because IKEA is one of our new sponsors for Toy Mountain this year. I'm here with Jamie Locke, who is one of the officials from Salvation Army. Jamie, how are you feeling about being outside in this cold and not having a coat on?
Well, it's cold, but what's happening here is heartwarming, and so we're so thankful to IKEA for the support and for making Christmas happen for so many families here in Toronto.
Okay, and of course, Erin is here. She always is with us. Erin, what's it like to have a new sponsor on board?
We're so grateful. You know, our corporate sponsors make such a difference to this campaign and help us reach so many more children and families. 70,000 children across the GTA need our support. So thank you. We're so excited.
Okay, well, I'm excited. We're going to be heading inside. We'll talk to some of the folks from IKEA. Say hello to all the staff. Say hello. They're going to help us build a Toy Mountain. Hi there. Back to you, Nathan.
All right, thanks, Andrew. We'll chat soon. Well, coming up, still unable to sort things out. Mediation is temporarily suspended because both sides are too far apart. The latest on the Canada Post workers' strike just ahead.
But first, we turn to an arrest in a disturbing crime.
A man accused of posing as a rideshare driver and assaulting multiple women. CTV's Janice Golding joins us live with the details. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, Peel Regional Police have arrested a 22-year-old Brampton man in connection with 3 violent sexual assaults and say they fear there could be more victims.
Police call the charges shocking.
These were incredibly violent, reprehensible acts perpetrated against our community.
22-year-old Arshdeep Singh facing a litany of charges that include sexual assault by strangulation, sexual assault with a weapon, kidnapping, robbery, and other threats.
Mr. Singh was here as an international student. We are still unpacking whether or not Mr. Singh went to school, and if so, where he did.
The Brampton man arrested in London following a police investigation into a string of violent sexual assaults by a man pretending to be a rideshare operator.
Very clear what his modus operandi was. He would approach South Asian females in their early 20s and offer rideshare services.
Police say the first assaults took place early on November the 8th. Two women assaulted 45 minutes apart after being approached by a driver purporting to be a rideshare operator while they were waiting for a Brampton bus. Just over a week later, at 6:45 a.m. November the 16th, another woman was offered a ride while waiting for a Brampton bus, and she too was taken to a more remote area and sexually assaulted.
It's terrible, terrible, terrible. It's disgusting.
I do feel for this community. We literally come out in this area every day. I see women walking, I see teenagers walking. That's very scary to know.
Today, police commended the survivors for reporting the incidents and preventing future assaults.
I want to double back and thank the women that had the courage in this instance to come forward. And we need women to keep coming forward.
But added they believe there are more victims who have yet to have spoken out about what happened to them.
We are here, these people are here to protect you.
Police say Singh came to Canada in December 2022 on a student visa.
Police say in this case the suspect spoke to the victim in Punjabi and approached in a black four-door sedan. They also like to add that they would like the public to remember not to accept unsolicited rides from strangers. Reporting live from Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle.
Thank you, Janice. The TTC's interim CEO is calling for a push to address a rise in hate-motivated graffiti on the transit system. TTC interim CEO Greg Percy outlined his ask in a letter to Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkiw. Percy pointed to an increase in hateful graffiti on TTC vehicles and infrastructure targeting the Jewish community. He said the added workload of removing it is diverting crews from scheduled maintenance, and police help is needed to address the issue and take preventative action. In his letter to Chief Demkiw, Percy wrote in part, "I recognize the complexities of addressing these incidents and seek any guidance you can provide regarding effective deterrence processes or available supports to mitigate this troubling trend. We cannot allow this behavior to continue." We've asked Toronto Police for comment. Their statistics show the Jewish community is the most frequent target for hate crimes in the city, with an increase seen since October 7th of 2023.
We're getting a sense tonight of the feared impact of closing safe consumption sites in the province.
The Ford government is working to fast-track the bill that would do just that, in a move being described by staff and users at one of the sites slated to be shut down. CTV's Natalie Johnson reports.
It is what 34-year-old Chris Kalajian describes as his morning ritual. Stopping into the Parkdale Queen West Community Health Center,
just come in and use the site,
where he uses methamphetamine under the supervision of harm reduction workers.
These people are amazing. They actually keep people alive.
We have 4 booths set up.
The staff here estimate that they have saved hundreds, if not thousands, of lives in this small space, intervening in more than 700 overdoses in the last year alone.
Multiple times a day, absolutely. The way the toxic drug supply looks right now, it's extremely dangerous.
But the supervised consumption site is slated to close by the end of March, set to be banned by the province because it is within 200 meters of a school.
The government thinks that they're finding paraphernalia and stuff around like that, and people sleeping in the streets. They're going to see it increase by 20, and they close these down.
I believe a lot of my clients and the clients we see here will die, and I think these policies are a death sentence for a lot of people.
The government now proposing to fast-track the bill for approval, pushing it through without public consultation, to the despair of the team here.
The door has really been summarily closed by not having feedback open for that evidence to be tabled, because I think if that opportunity was there, the evidence that would be tabled would show that this is an ill-informed decision.
I'm listening to the families who are dealing with open consumption in their communities.
The health minister today defending the plan, which involves launching homeless and addiction recovery treatment hubs in place of the consumption sites.
We are transitioning and actually providing more services so that people get a pathway out of addiction.
People can't go to treatment if they're dead. And, that is one of our biggest concerns, is that people are going to be dying out in the streets.
Staff at the Parkdale Centre calling for consultation and compassion as the time ticks down.
It's never too late to right a wrong. And I think a wrong has been done. and that there is still an opportunity for the province to make right.
Pleading the province for a lifeline. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
Durham police are highlighting some of the successes of an effort to crack down on car thefts in the region. Durham Region says they saw a 100% increase in vehicle thefts between 2021 and 2023. Last December, police created a unit called Project Attire, made up of dedicated officers to address the issue. Nearly 1 year later, police say their efforts have had a real impact, although the work is far from over.
So far, in 2024, we have seen an 8% decrease in auto thefts, and we are recovering more than 50% of stolen vehicles in our region. Unfortunately, we are still averaging 3 stolen vehicles a day. This number is still too high, and we are working very hard to bring this number down even more.
Police say Project Attire has conducted 865 investigations and laid 341 charges against 81 people, many who were out on bail or on probation for previous charges.
A development today in the Canada Post strike. Mediation has been temporarily suspended as both sides remain far apart on critical issues. The news came as striking workers held a rally at the Canada Post South Central facility on Eastern Avenue. Members of CUPE Ontario joined in solidarity. Federal Labour Minister Steve McKinnon said the pause in mediation activities will hopefully allow the parties to reassess their positions and return to the bargaining table with renewed resolve.
These parties have had access to the best mediation services that it is possible to have. They have had time, and it is like both parties don't realize that the business plan and business proposition of Canada Post hasn't changed. That is an obvious fact for all Canadians. And at the same time, they need to realize that they need to reach a ratifiable agreement.
About 55,000 postal workers have been on strike for nearly 2 weeks now.
In Brampton, a group of international graduates is keeping up an encampment protest, pushing back against changes to the federal immigration system.
They say Ottawa's reduction in post-graduation visas is unfair and are calling for changes. CTV's Adrian Gabriel explains.
Swept aside after going all in on the Canadian dream.
I have already invested so much on my education. I have paid $36,000 in my diploma.
Gurkirad Kaur graduated with a biotechnology diploma from Ontario Centennial College and is currently working with a pharmaceutical company. Her work permit expires in September.
I don't want to live here like illegally.
We came here with a dream of good life, but you cannot imagine a good life without permanent residency.
According to multiple labor unions, more than 200,000 international students who've already graduated are now at risk of deportation and loss of status when their work permits expire over the next 13 months. That's due to recent changes to Ottawa's immigration policy that also puts a new cap on the number of international students accepted into the country. As a result, this week, Sheridan College announced it's suspending 40 programs and laying off staff, citing a shift in government policy. Saying in a statement, we will have about 30% fewer students in the coming years, which will lead to a loss of approximately $112 million in revenue in the next fiscal year. As such, we must reduce our expenses.
Honourable Mark Miller.
This week, Canada's immigration minister defended the Liberals' new plan, including the government's apparent lack of details to ensure residents with expiring status voluntarily leave the country.
Are you saying 100% will be expected to leave, or are you going to send CBSA to chase all 766,000?
You know that is not what happens. There are a number of things that occur. Some people actually get renewals.
Those here have a list of demands. They want their expiring work permits extended, and they'd like new ones to be changed from 3 to 5 years. They also say they want what they believe they were promised when they came to Canada as international students, a fair pathway to permanent residency. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Brampton, Ontario.
The decision to call a snap election has paid off for Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston, who led his PCs to a second straight majority government.
Your kindness means an incredible amount to me, to my entire family, and I look forward to continuing to serve you for 4 more years.
Houston called the election almost 8 months early and will now head back to the legislature in a stronger position. The PCs have won or are leading in 43 out of 55 ridings. They had 34 seats at dissolution. The NDP also made big gains and will form the official opposition with 9 seats.
Turning overseas, Lebanese civilians began returning to their homes in the country's south today as the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah survived its critical first few hours. Long lines of traffic could be seen winding their way towards southern Lebanon today, in spite of warnings from the Israeli and Lebanese militaries to stay away from certain areas. If it holds, the ceasefire would bring an end to 14 months of fighting between Israel and Hezbollah, which saw thousands killed and many more displaced. The Iran-backed militant group began firing on Israel in the wake of its ally Hamas launching the October 7th attacks.
A key factor in all of this, of course, is that Israel, through very complex means, managed to decimate Hezbollah, which was considered the strongest of the Iranian-backed militias. So they are now weakened.
A Hezbollah MP today said Israel had not achieved its goals in Lebanon. In Israel, reaction has been mixed to the ceasefire in the north, while critics note the war in Gaza continues with no signs of stopping.
South of the border, the FBI is investigating after violent threats were sent to several nominees and appointees of the incoming Trump administration. A spokesperson for the U.S. president-elect said the threats were made throughout last night and this morning. Among those targeted was Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, Trump's nominee for UN ambassador, and Brooke Rollins, nominated to serve as Agriculture Secretary. Trump's team called the threats un-American and thanked law enforcement for their swift response to keep them safe.
Speaking of the approaching switch in administrations, President-elect Trump has named Jamieson Greer as his pick to serve as the next U.S. trade representative. Greer was chief of staff to Robert Lighthizer, who held the role during Trump's first term. If confirmed by the U.S. Senate, Greer would play a prominent role in Trump's international trade agenda that would include any renegotiations of free trade agreements and the threatened tariffs.
U.S. Thanksgiving is tomorrow, and millions of Americans are hitting the road for the holiday. It's estimated nearly 80 million people in the U.S. will travel at least 80 kilometers from now until Monday to gather with family and friends. Weather could become an issue over the next few days, with a storm expected to form over the southern plains and Mississippi Valley. Many airlines are allowing passengers to change flights even before inclement weather starts. It's worth noting American Thanksgiving isn't just celebrated in the U.S. or on Earth, for that matter.
Let me see. We've got Brussels sardines, Brussels sprouts, butternut squash, apples and spice,
smoked turkey,
and smoked turkey. It's going to be delicious.
Dinner is served. The 4 astronauts aboard the International Space Station are in the middle of a long mission and can only see loved ones virtually, but they got some special food on hand to enjoy a Thanksgiving feast. The menu including Brussels sprouts, sardines, butternut squash, apples, and you heard it there, smoked turkey.
Coming up, curbing the pigeon population. The city's expanding efforts to keep this common Toronto sight to a minimum without ruffling feathers.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, if you're planning home renovations, it can be a big job. A Whitby family started a renovation project more than a year ago. It isn't even close to being finished, and now they have a financial dispute with their contractor. I'll have my reports. That's just ahead.
Okay, you were just talking about the different types of food they could have at the space station. At IKEA, they still have Swedish meatballs, and they also have plant-based Swedish meatballs, and they have fish and chips. Okay, so that's the menu. Let's talk to Odette. Odette, thank you for doing this. What do you do at IKEA?
I'm the market manager for IKEA Vaughan.
And how is IKEA helping Toy Mountain this year?
Well, I'm super excited to have you here and actually to announce our partnership with the Salvation Army. IKEA is really committed to sponsoring and working with the communities that we serve. So we're super excited today to announce our partnership with them, and then also to say that the IKEA North York, where you're at, and IKEA Vaughan will have official drop-off bins for Toy Mountain as an official sponsor. That's super great. And also in addition to that, we're announcing a $20,000 toy donation of IKEA soft toys, really focusing really focusing on children under the age of 0 to 3 because we know that's the one that's the most challenging for donations. So that's a big donation, and we're super excited to be partnership with the Salvation Army. Come on down to IKEA North York. We have some great things today. We have some ginger thins and also some glögg, which is traditional Swedish drink for this time of the festive season. But come down and partner with us. It's super great, and the Salvation Army.
Okay, more from IKEA in North York when we come back, and I'll be inside, I promise this time. We're heading inside. Let's go, everybody.
Lots of fun stuff there, and it's a good idea that they head inside. It is a little cool. The hot spot today, Cedar Springs, just south of Chatham. Now, we are going to see a bit of a cool down heading into the end of the week. I have all those details coming up in your full forecast, and we'll break down that chance of active weather. And stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
Homeowners who want more space, a basement apartment, or upgraded kitchens and bathrooms take on home renovation projects.
Renos can be expensive and time-consuming, and finding the right contractor for the job is important to get the work done right. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. A Whitby family wanted a new kitchen as well as a basement apartment and hired a company to do the job. But they say after more than a year of renovations, there is still plenty to do, and they're concerned about the money they've paid so far. This home in Whitby has been undergoing renovations for over a year, and work has almost come to a standstill. Premila Lobo and Rajesh Bhatt wanted to expand their kitchen and add an addition with a legal basement apartment.
It's our worst nightmare. We're not going to ever be able to recover from this.
The couple hired a contractor and agreed to a total price for the renovation of $255,000. They became concerned after paying $175,000 when the renovation was more than a year behind schedule.
He promised he would finish the interior by Thanksgiving and then Christmas and so on. And 13 months later, we still don't have the interior done.
With winter on the way, they're also worried about the addition and basement apartment, which is also far from being finished.
Long way to go. Insulation, electrical, then the finishing. So this is supposed to be the kitchen and the family room and the legal addition.
The money they paid to the contractor was supposed to cover the work being done, and they were shocked to find out the trades, which did much of the work so far, said they hadn't been paid.
I have a whole list of unpaid sub-trades, right from the flooring guy to the electrician to drywallers to the foundation company and many more.
They discovered liens were being placed on their home for almost $90,000, and the unpaid trades won another $11,000 for a total of almost $100,000. They signed a contract with Dennis Design Build. CTV News reached out to owner Trevor Dennis. He told us there were issues with the permits, and he still hopes to finish the reno.
At no point have I ever walked away from this project. The job was extremely delayed for reasons that were not mine, and I'm trying to complete it.
While Dennis says he will finish the project, Bhatt said work isn't getting done.
Absolutely no specifics. He'll just say, I'm going to do it.
They wanted a family room where their daughters could practice their music and hope somehow their renovations will be completed.
If he's not able to do it, to refund the money.
So we can get someone else to give us our home back.
And when having home renovations done, you should check references and get at least 3 quotes for a job. Insist on written contracts and avoid paying up front. It's best to pay for work as it's completed. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Looking at the forecast, and it's just like to say, it was feeling like November.
Oh,
the way it should.
Yeah, definitely chilly start to the day and a freshness in the air, and then we're talking about snow and wind chills. But you always temper it, right? Because it depends where you are. It's the GTA is big, the city is big, so you could have snow in one part, but not in another. Hopefully not in my hood.
Right, and this is the time of year where it's a little tricky, and it is one of those things where you have to keep your eye to the sky because we are watching for snow, but it starts off along those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. They could see up to 15 centimeters before the week is all said and done. For us here in the GTA, in the downtown core, it's a dusting at most. And it really doesn't start until we get in towards the end of the week. So no need to panic just yet, but a good idea to put those winter tires on. So it'll be out of your hood for this weekend, but maybe in towards the end of the week. But we're looking at this shot from early on this morning. Lots of sunshine out there. It really was a beautiful and very sunny and very November-like day. We haven't had many November-like days because it's been feeling a lot more like the kind of early spring, early fall type of weather where it's just that little bit of humidity out there. Temperature-wise right now, it's not too bad. We're sitting at 2 degrees here in the city, a little warmer through Windsor. The hot spot today in the province was down towards that kind of Chatham-Kent area. Ottawa sitting at 2 degrees in northern Ontario, already getting that blast of wintry weather. The bulk of the snow again is in towards areas through Owen Sound, through Goderich, Orillia, Perry Sound. For us, we're looking at, again, maybe a dusting at most tonight. Very seasonal, really right across the board. Into the day tomorrow. We're holding on to just mostly cloudy conditions, a little sunshine into the afternoon. +5 for the daytime high. So again, we're still on that moderate side and really everybody's still holding on to a decent amount of warmth. The first round of snow coming through, a round of active weather staying pretty far south of us as we head through kind of the end of our day today into the day tomorrow. So we're kind of bookended by it, northern Ontario and then areas kind of sitting just south of the border. Now, as we head in towards the coming days, that lake effect snow machine will start to fire up a little stronger, and that's when it gets closer to us. So let's time it all out. The rest of our evening, just some cloud cover out there. We get into the early morning hours tomorrow. Again, it's that northern shoreline of Lake Ontario, but a little further east. So say Oshawa and east. We're not looking at a significant amount of snow, but again, it's that kind of that first little bit of wintry weather that always kind of shocks people. We head into our Thursday afternoon, a little sunshine, but now you're seeing those streamers, those lake effect snow machine kind of firing up along the eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. We get into our Friday morning. Again, it gets a little closer, but the GTA is still staying relatively dry. It's as we end Friday, step into Saturday, that it gets a little bit closer, and we're looking at maybe a centimeter. But because we're still on the positive side, a lot of that melting on contact. So as we head in towards your Thursday, again, it's mostly cloudy. Friday, it's late in the day, a dusting at most. And then we're really holding on to a pretty typical forecast as we head into the end of the month, which is on Saturday. December begins on Sunday with some flurries in very true fashion. And then as we head into the first few days of December, it's not too bad. We'll switch gears and it's time to check back in with Andrea Case on location inside at IKEA in North York, continuing to build a toy mountain.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Jess. Yes, we're inside now, and I'm here with Iana. We're in the kids section. It only makes sense that we're in the kids section today because IKEA is really concentrating on donating toys to children. Why children, Iana?
Children. For IKEA right now, it's such a big thing. We really are trying to kind of encompass, and we even created a whole department just for kids, right? So we want to really kind of present the idea that kids have such a big are such a big part of our lives, right? And they're the future. Ingvar Kamprad was saying that kids are our future, and we have to invest into them.
Okay, so you worked here for a while. Why do you like working with children?
I do work for the Children's IKEA, so I did start my journey as a part-timer, and now I'm a manager, right? So it's been a 6 years journey. I switched stores as well, but I still always came back to children because I do see the potential of the kids, how it can grow right into, with different collections that every year that, happen, and I can see that I can have a big impact on that.
So how is IKEA helping Toy Mountain this year? Because we know we have hundreds of kids across the city that really need help at this time of year, and small children are often overlooked. We have certain groups that we're always trying to help, and so how is IKEA donating to Toy Mountain?
So this year we launched the beautiful Skottstuva collection in order to transport all of the kids into the magical forest of Sweden. So as part of the $20,000 donation, about 1/3 or half of it will be Skottstuva collection as part of the donation. I can tell you more about the Skottstuva, what it represents for IKEA.
Well, we can see it here. So these are actual toys that children can play with. That is the collection, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so if people come down to IKEA, we're at IKEA North York, but of course there's IKEA Vaughan and little satellite locations, one right across from the station in Scarborough there, Scarborough Town Centre, and you can make a donation at IKEA, and then the children will be able to benefit from, you can shop, and you can also drop off a donation. Okay, so your name is?
Malia.
Malia, how come you're here today? Her mom brought her here. Well, that's it from this location. We'll find out. She is here with an adult, by the way. She is here by an adult, not a child wandering around through the store. We'll be back later on the show to wrap up what's going on here at IKEA in North York. And we want to thank to IKEA for being a sponsor this year, helping us build a toy mountain.
All right, you figured
Back
so.
to you.
Thank you, Andrea. Also tonight, a wake-up call for coffee drinkers. Why your morning cup of joe could soon cost you more. That's coming up. Among the millions who call Toronto home is a sizable pigeon population.
But they're not always welcome. CTV's Scott Lightfoot shows us how the city is trying to control them so visitors will continue to flock to public spaces.
Like the sign and the sightseers, pigeons are a constant presence in Nathan Phillips Square.
I think they're more of a nuisance to people. There are a lot of them.
On the ground, the arches, even the benches, there aren't too many spots that you can't spot a pigeon and what they leave behind.
The excrement can be an issue. Depending on how many birds there are, it can pile up.
In an effort to curb the pigeon population, the city has been providing the birds with contraceptive-laced feed at a number of rooftop sites since the spring of last year. And now they're taking their pigeon birth control program to the ground with a new feeder in front of the square.
At sunrise, it's on a timer, so sunrise every day, the food will be dispersed and the birds will come and eat it and then won't have any viable eggs.
A field camera attached will help officials do a rough count of the number of feeding birds each day. Similar feeders have been used in Barcelona. That city started its population control program back in 2017, and officials say they've seen a yearly decrease of 20 to 30%. Officials here hope to reduce Toronto's pigeon population by half within a few years.
It's not great for these birds to be out in the elements. They don't live a long time, 2 to 3 years. It's a pretty tough life for them. They are domestic animals and that have been abandoned. They're feral.
A lack of natural predators, like this hawk who was hanging out above the newly installed feeder, is one of the reasons Toronto's pigeon population has been able to thrive. But the biggest booster is human intervention. Many people feed the birds, some on a daily basis, despite a bylaw passed last year to prohibit it. Officials here hope by educating people not to feed the pigeons and expanding their contraceptive feed program, they should be able to ground the soaring numbers of pigeons in this city.
They shouldn't then be as much of a nuisance for people.
Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
The UK's Natural History Museum has narrowed down the 25 finalists for its People's Choice Award, naming the Wildlife Photographer of the Year. 2 of the top photos up for consideration are from Canadian photographers Jess Finley and Mark Williams. They snap photos of a barn owl and a beluga whale. Members of the public are now able to vote until January 29th.
A handwritten letter from John Lennon to Eric Clapton is expected to go for at least $158,000 at auction. In the personal letter dated September 29, 1971, Lennon tries to convince Clapton to join a supergroup of popular musicians. International Autograph Auctions Europe will sell the letter to the highest bidder in an online auction on December 5th.
Following the release of Wicked and Gladiator 2, another franchise is making a big splash at the box office this week. Moana 2 hit theaters today. Deadline reports Disney's animated musical sequel brought in $54 million in Tuesday previews. That would put it on track for $170 million over the 5-day Thanksgiving holiday period south of the border. That would easily surpass the previous record holder, Frozen 2.
After the break, dashing through the snow. This time, it's gridlock in Calgary that forced an NHL player to walk to the hockey game. Did he get there in time?
The federal government needs to have a plan. We don't need a plan a month down the road. We need a plan now.
Updating our top stories, Doug Ford and other premiers are taking part in an emergency meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. They're coming up with a response to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's threat to impose 25% tariffs on Canadian goods, citing concerns about the shared border.
My first decision was duck down, put it into third gear, and get the hell out of there.
Provincial police are investigating a terrifying incident Tuesday morning captured on camera. Motorists on the 401 say a man appeared to point a gun at vehicles. OPP received reports of 10 vehicles being shot at, and they're searching for a suspect, 29-year-old Troy LeDrew of Toronto.
These were incredibly violent, reprehensible acts.
And Peel police have arrested a Brampton man, 22-year-old Arshdeep Singh, following an investigation into a string of violent sexual assaults. Police say the international student would pretend to be a rideshare operator before assaulting his victims. It's believed others still have yet to come forward.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app.
On the market, the Canadian dollar changed hands at 71.30 U.S. cents, up more than 1/10 cent. Western Canadian Select Oil was at $55.95 a barrel, down 38 cents. And the TSX Composite Index ended the day up just over 83 points to 25,488.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Coffee drinkers could soon be waking up to higher prices as producers of the beloved beans face ongoing challenges. The cost of Arabica beans is at the highest level since 1977, jumping nearly 70% this year alone. A severe drought in Brazil, as well as concerns about another variety of coffee bean in Vietnam, is putting a strain on supply. The shortage is putting pressure on businesses who may ultimately increase prices.
Hyundai is recalling hundreds of thousands of SUVs and small cars in the U.S. and Canada because the rear-view camera image isn't showing up on screens. This recall covers certain Santa Fe and Elantra vehicles from the 2021 and 2022 model years. Drivers can check whether their car is impacted by searching their vehicle identification number on Hyundai's website. Dealers will replace the cameras at no cost to owners. Turning to sports, the Toronto Raptors are in New Orleans tonight, taking on the Pelicans.
Jaden Ivey from the baseline. Buries it at the horn.
The Raps coming off a buzzer-beater loss to the Detroit Pistons Monday. Toronto will be without Grady Dick again as he recovers from a calf injury during Sunday's loss to the Cavs. Tip-off in New Orleans tonight is just after 8.
And the Leafs are back in action tonight, hoping to have their captain back in the lineup, but it's doubtful. Austin Matthews hasn't played since November 3rd with an undisclosed upper body injury. Despite that, Toronto's won 7 of their last 8 games, including a 3-2 win Sunday night against Utah. Matthews has been skating with the Leafs over the past few days. They play tonight against Florida. Puck drop is at 7:30.
Take a look at this. In Toronto, it was gridlock that forced NHLers to walk to their game. In Calgary, it was the weather. Social media video showing Travis Boyd of the Minnesota Wild hauling his hockey bag and the team's service manager carrying his sticks as they jogged down a snowy street to get to the Saddle Dome. Boyd had just been called up from the AHL, and his flight to Calgary landed at noon on Saturday, but warm-up was just before 1:30. With traffic crawling as they got closer to the arena, they just decided to get out and run. Boyd made it with 13 minutes to spare. Andrea.
I'm Andrea Case with no time to spare right here at IKEA in North York. Our latest sponsor for a Toy Mountain. Coming up after the break, we're going to let you know how you can donate to Toy Mountain. I'm Andrea Case. I'll see you in a few.
Tonight, buyer beware ahead of Black Friday. Be suspicious of any deals or potential scams that are coming to you. How shoppers can protect themselves from scams this holiday season. Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special hello to those of you listening to the newscast live right now on News Talk 1010. Our Toy Mountain Tour continues tonight.
We are on a journey to build a mountain of toys for the holidays. And CTV's Andrea Case is at the place to be, IKEA North York tonight. Andrea.
Nathan and Michelle, I'm picking up children here. I now have Catherine, who's joined us here at IKEA in North York. I'm losing my voice. One more time, Odette. How can people who come to IKEA help build a mountain of toys?
Yeah, so if we come and visit IKEA North York and IKEA Vaughan from up until today until December 1st and purchase an IKEA toy and donate it in one of the bins at the exit for Toy Mountain, IKEA is going to donate $1 for each toy to build a Toy Mountain with the Salvation Army. So please come on down, come and visit us and support. These toys are amazing. You know, toys really help with sleep and with play, a really comforting thing at night for a child. So come on down to IKEA, purchase a toy and donate.
That's a good sales pitch. Okay, let's. I'm going to have you scooch over. Aaron, tomorrow we're on the road again, but tonight we're at IKEA. Tell the folks at home why it's important once again, and what are you looking for kids who need toys at this time of year?
Yeah, it's so important because we're supporting over 70,000 children across the GTA, and we're looking for ages 0 to 13 years old, but specific age groups, babies 0 to 3 years of age. IKEA has supported us tonight with that, which is so fantastic, and tweens, that 10 to 13 years of age, we historically see less donations for them, so those are helpful.
Jamie, thanks for coming out. Everybody, we want to thank you for helping us build a Toy Mountain! I'll send it back to you. Woo!
Thank you so much.
Thank you, IKEA. Thanks to all the volunteers, everyone who turned out tonight. Yes. And we are anticipating a little bit of festive weather, perhaps, depending on where you are.
We are. We're kind of getting into that time of year where we're likely to see the precipitation follow snow now. It is getting cooler. It starts kind of along those western shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. And for us, it comes a little later in the week. You won't need the shovel, but it's that time of year where you have to start thinking about driving according to the road and weather conditions. Now, we're holding on to just a little cloud cover as we head through this evening. The snow staying far north of us, but we will see it kind of start to trickle into the area as we step into the end of the week. Right now, sitting at 2 degrees here in the city. Around the house tomorrow, again, it's not too bad, all things considered, but that wind starts to pick up and it gets cold. The best chance for flurries for us is going to be late Friday into the weekend, so keep that in mind. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas as we step into December on Sunday.
Okay, thank you, Jess. That's it for us, but you can join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Almond with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.